Today you will learn how to use Microsoft Access. Access is one of the component apps in Microsoft 365. It is a relational database program which you can use to create database of people that work under a company or track the company's activities. You will understand that the more when we start with Access practically, okay? Access can be used by small business owners, okay, to track some things about the company. In terms of use of access, access can be used to track orders. It can be used to compose the names of employees in an organization and their details. It can also be used to run query. Take for example, you run a school and you have large number of students in the school. You can use access to query the database to find out the students who have not paid their fees for the year. Okay. In addition, access can be used to create relationship between some objects in the database, all right? And Excel does not have such property, all right? Now, let's compare access with Excel. One is that both can be used to store information, but the advantage of access over Excel is the relationship aspect of it. It can be used to create relationship that Excel cannot do that, okay? Another thing is in the area of query. You can use access to run query, but Excel cannot do that. Another advantage of access over Excel is in terms of the number of rows contained in it. Excel has about 1 million, but Access has more than that, which means it can accommodate more data than Excel. So let's go into it for you to see how to use this program. To have an updated version of Access, you must have subscribed to Microsoft 365 recently. So after installation of Microsoft 365, which I have already done on my PC right now, let's now open the Access program. For you to open Access, click on Start and search for Access, okay? So it shows up in the search results, click on it for it to open. As the Access program opens, this is the first interface you will see. This is called the start screen, okay, or the start page. We have blank database and we have other pre-designed database, okay. For example, if something you want to create is related to this, you can select it. If it's related to access tracking, you can select this. Once it opens, you can change the information to suit what you want, okay. At this bottom part, you can see some buttons here or some tabs. You see recent and you see pinned. Recent contains some access files I recently created or accessed on this program. Pinned contains some of the access files I pinned on this program, okay? But here I don't have any and that is why it is empty. Now let's get started and we are going to work with blank database. So I'll click on it for it to open. Here we are required to enter the name for the database. What I want us to create is a relationship to students. It's related to students. So I'll give this database name like students, okay? I'll give it students. At this bottom part, you can see c slash user slash usitext slash documents. What this means is that any database we are creating is going to be saved inside the documents folder of our PC. It may be the same from your own end or it may be different, but your attention should be here so that when you're done creating this database and you want to access it in future, you know where to go in your PC to get that accessed. Now that we have given a name to this database, let's now open it. So I'll click on create. Once the file opens, we'll be landed on this interface. Here, you can see this arrangement. All these are all cells, these small boxes, but we cannot do anything inside them without first defining them, okay? We are coming to that, okay? Now, in Excel, these small boxes are known as cells, which still applies here in Access, okay? Then these cells that are arranged horizontally in Access, they are referred to as field, while in Excel, they are referred to as column. And these ones that are arranged in order vertically, they are referred to as records. While in Excel, they are referred as row. Okay, so know that this is field and this is records. Once our database program opens, we are assigned a table, which is where we will be starting our work from. Okay, so we can change the name of this table after we have filled our information. But before we start filling our information, we have to assign field name or field title to each of these fields. Okay. On this top, you can see some important tabs, just as we have in Microsoft Word, Excel, and other Office programs. Okay. Each of these tabs have some commands under them that will help you to complete some tasks on this program. Okay. Now let's get started. For us to start, I want us to create a table containing the names of students in my academy. All right. So after creating that table, we will then carry out some other tasks. But before we get started, we need to define each of these fields. So let's call this students ID. And for us to edit it, we double click on this first ID. When you are done assigning a title to this first field, tap the tab key of your computer keyboard to get to the next field. Okay, here we are now allowed to assign a data type to this field. We have short text, we have number, we have large number, we have currency, and some others. We need to define this for the program to know the type of data you want to assign in each of these fields. Here I'm going with short text. So I want to have the student's first name here, so I'll select short text. Then first name. Once you're done with that, press the tab key to get to the next field. Okay, so still select short text. So continue in this trend until you fill the information you want to have in all these field titles. Okay. Looking at this table, you can see I've added student ID, first name, last name, course, age, and email address. But here I want to add this individual student's phone number. All right. So you can see it's not going to be short text again because it's a number. So the data type will be number. So I'll select that. And then I'll type the information, phone number. After that, I'll proceed to the next field. Okay, we have assigned all the field titles we need in this our table. Note that without you defining the field title in a table, there is no way you will type any data in that table. So first is for you to define your field. After that, you can start entering the information you want to enter. In this first field, you cannot enter any information below it because it assigns value automatically. So any other information you are entering should be from the second field down, okay? So here, for example, I want to type the first name of my student. I will type it here. After that, I'll type it this last name, type the course of study, type the age, and so many other informations. After you are done with that, come now to this field again and continue. So if you don't complete all the information in the first record, there's no how you can jump to the second record. That is how Access is programmed. Okay, let's talk about how to edit the information you have in each of these fields. Okay, if for example you made a mistake, for example here I'm supposed to have course of study instead of just course. What you need to do is for you to edit this field, you have to double click on it. Once you double click on it, you can click again and then type the information you want to have in it. Okay. Once you're done with that, just click out. Okay. Now, let's talk about how to adjust each of these cells or each of these fields. Looking at this, you can see that this student's ID does not show up clearly. This course of study does not show clearly. Even the phone number does not show up clearly. And the parents or guidance information does not show up clearly. So how do we adjust this? To adjust the cells, take your cursor to that particular field until you see these two arrows. Press down the left button of your mouse and then adjust. Once you're okay with the size you want, release the pressure. You can see here I have student's ID in full. The same thing applies here. Carefully take your cursor to that spot, press down the left button of your mouse, and then adjust. So do that until you have a clearer view of the information you have in each of the fields. Okay, now that we have adjusted everything, you can see we have the information clearly shown, okay? After filling your titles, you might have missed one information you want to have in a field, okay? Take for example, maybe you want to have location before age. How do we assign a new field? It's simple. All you need to do is just to select a field title, then right click and then select the option insert field. Okay, you can see this field now has been inserted here. So we can have the city or the location where the student is coming from before this other information. All right. But in this case, we don't need that. Let me just delete it. So I'll right click and then select the option to delete field. We have returned back to the normal status. Okay. Okay, now that we have now created our field titles, I think it's important for us to save this table while giving it our own custom name before we proceed to other tasks. For you to save a table, just right click on that table name and select the option save. Then here I'll call it students information. Once you're done assigning a name to the table, click OK. And you can see on that table, you will have students information as one of the objects we have inside this database. Now let's enter the information of each of the students. Here, first name is required, so I'll click on that and then call this my student James. Then after that, click on last name and insert the last name. Then click here and assign the course of study. You can follow along, okay? So fill the information field by field, okay? Once you complete this first record, get to the second record. You can see student ID, a number has been assigned automatically, okay? So let me now complete this at the back end and then we continue with other things we need to do. Okay, here we have entered all the information we want in the field. We have the first name, we have the last name, course of study, and so many other things. Okay, you can see these are the courses Godwin Tech offer to different students from different locations. So if you're interested, maybe you can apply as well. Okay, all right. Now let me highlight something very important. As you build your database, ensure you save. Okay, since we have already saved the file at the beginning, as you add up maybe on every 2 minutes, just click on the save icon for every information you have added into the database to be saved. So here I'll click on save. All right. So all this information I just added now are added to the existing ones. Okay. Now, just like as we have in some other programs of Microsoft, you can format the text. Okay. So for example, if I want to make this text bold, I'll just to select one and then hit the bold button. Everything here is made bold, okay, and it's made clearer for you to see. Remember, the bold button is in the home tab. So once you click on this home tab, you then have some commands that allow you to format the information. Okay, what of if you want to change a data type as you make progress? Maybe you want to change a data type. What you need to do is just to change the view. By default, you are placed on the data view. By default, you are placed on the datasheet view. You can see that here at the bottom right, okay? But if you want to switch to design view, click on design view. So here now you can see student's ID was assigned automatically, and first name short text, this one short text, this one just short text, phone number large number. Before I have this as a just number, but I switched it to large number. So if you want to change to any data type, for example here, just click and then select a new data type of your choice. You can only do that in this view, which is design view. So let's get back to the datasheet view and then continue our work from there. Let's assume this is just all I need to have in this database and I want to close this information. For you to close this information, ensure you have saved and then click on close. Okay, now what if I want to open it again? For you to open it again, just as usual, click on start and then search for access. You can do that through the file explorer as well, but let's just follow this step. Okay, look at the information here, students. So I will double click on it. Now, once the database open here, in this case, you will see that you will have this look like this. This platform looks so clean like this, but we need to open our information. For us to open the information, get to this and then double click. As you can see, we have landed on where we were before. I want us to create a new table. That is the table we use to show relationship in Access database. Okay, so that table will contain some basic information of my students and those that have paid their school fees and those that have not paid their fees for the courses I offer to them. So for us to create a new table, just click on create and select table. All right, this assigns a table for us. Then we have to start defining the title. So I'll click on this spot and select short text. But before I assign a value here, before I assign the information here, so let me edit this. So here, I will have this as fee ID, okay? Students fee ID or just fees ID, okay? Good. That means the ID of students that have paid their school fees and those that have not paid their school fees. In this second field, I have already defined it just for me to assign a title, okay? So I will call this student ID. That is to create a relationship with the first table, which is student information. So I don't need to repeat the details again, just the student's ID, okay? Okay, here I will click here and then I will have this as expected payment date, all right? So in respect to that, the data type that fits it is date and time. So I'll select that option. So these are the date. This is the date every student is expected to pay their fees for the courses Godwin Tech offer to them. So after that, I'll click tab for me to assign another data type. Okay. The data type I want to have here is yes or no because I want differentiation between those that have paid their school fees and those that have not paid their fees. Okay. So I will select that option and here we say I will have the text as fees paid. What this means is that if any box is checked, that means the student have paid his or her own fees for the course he or she is offering. But anyone that is unchecked, it means that the student is owing the academy. So student ID 1, let's say he has paid his own fees. Student ID 2, okay, he has not paid. But here, expected payment date is the same for all the students. So let's say the expected payment date for all the students is on January, is on 9th of this month, which is January. So it is expected that every student has paid his or her own school fees on the 9th. So I'll repeat the same here, the same dates. I'll repeat the same dates here, okay? So let me now feed the rest of the information and then we continue to the relationship aspect. Okay, I'm done creating this second table, okay? So what this implies is that the student with feed ID of 1 has paid his fees and the expected payment date for all the students here is on the 9th of January 2024. The students with fee ID 2 and school I students ID 2 has not paid. That's why the box is not checked. In a future teaching, you will see how this information is important to us because we may decide to create a report or run query on students that have not paid their school fees. Instead of doing that manually, this program will help us to get their details within few seconds. So let's continue. So let's save this table and give it a constant name, a relationship to the name. So for us to save it, right click and select save option. Here we can give it a name fees. Let's say fee status, okay? After that, click on OK. Right now you can see our second table known as fee status has appeared on this list. Okay, now that we have created two tables in this database, we need to connect both of them. That connection is what we call relationship because in this fees table we have students ID. And in the student information table, we still have an information known as students ID as well. So we are going to tell this database that these two things are the same. Okay, so when we make change on one table, that change affects the other. All right, so we don't need to go there and start making the changes manually. We finish the change in the table one, we go and make the change in the table two. No, so let's now create the relationship in this database. For us to do that, click on database tools, select relationships. Now that the relationships table has opened, interface has opened, you can see these two tables we have here, fee status and students information. So let's drag each of the tables and place here. So first, let's drag this, then we expand it. Then let's drag this as well and place in this field. As we have these two files in this relationship space, you can see all the fields we have here. In the student's information, we have student's ID, you have first name, last name, course of study, age, email, and the rest. Then here you can see in the fee status, the basic fields we have there. We have fee ID, we have student's ID, we have expected payment date, we have fees paid. Okay. So now let's now connect both of these so that we will connect the student ID here to this student ID here. So for you to do that, click on this student ID and then drag it to the student ID in the fee status table. Okay, you can see this dialog box here. So here we are telling this program that the student's ID in the student information table is the same thing with the student's ID in the student fees table. Okay, so here what we need to do is to click on create. And now the relationship has been created. So any change you are making on this table will definitely affect this particular table as well. Now that we have connected both tables, let's now save. For us to save the relationship, we just need to right click and select the save option. So with this, we have saved the relationship between the two tables we have created so far. Let's now create form. You can create form based on the information you already have in your tables. For example, I may decide to create form showing the student's detail and not in the table. For you to do that, select the table you want to use, which I have done now. So after that, click on create. From the options here, select from. And you can see the form has been created. I can scroll down here and then use this navigation key to get to any details I want, okay? As you have created the form, you can decide to save it. For you to save the form, right click on the form information, select save. And then you can call it student information form in this case, which after that, click OK. And here we have a form named students information form in the object area. Let's go back to the table again. Okay, let's create query. In this query, we want to tell Access to filter out students who have not paid their school fees. Okay, the finance department needs their name to know how to follow up for them to make their fees for the course Godwin Tech offer to them. So for us to create a query, click on Create. We have two options here, Query Wizard and Query Design. But query design is easier. So let's go with that option. So click on that. Now this displays the tables you have already created in your database. We have fee status and we have students information. The information we need is in the phase status. So I will drag this and drop here. I can expand that so that you can see everything. Now, the information we need for us to carry out this assignment is the student ID, expected payment dates, and fees paid, which is the major thing. So with this student's ID, they can track the student that have not made their payment. The expected payment date shows the date they are expected to pay their fees, and they have not done that. Okay, so here is the table, which is students fee status table, okay, where the information is sourced from. Sort, show, then criteria. Under criteria, we are going to type equals no, which means that we are telling this database to source the information of, to source the details of students that have not paid their fees. Okay, so I'll click here and then say equals no. After typing that, I'll get to this data sheet view and click on that. And here we have the details of students who have not paid their fees. Okay, students ID 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, 11, and the rest. Okay, now let's save this query. For us to save a query, right click, select save. So after giving the query a name of your choice, click on OK. And here we have a new object called owing students query. Okay, so let's now close it and I'll click on save. Okay, you can create a report. Take for example, this query we just created on students that are owing the academy. I can create a report based on that, okay? Also, you can create a report based on other objects you have in your database. You can create a report based on fee students, maybe students information, owing students, or based on the form you have here. So, but our interest is to create a report on the students that are owing the school, the academy. So for you to do that, click on the file for it to be selected. Here is this query I want to create a report on. Maybe I want to forward to the management or maybe to any department in my organization. After the selection, click on create. Then you can see some options here. Select reports. And now a report is created based on the students that are owing the academy that have not paid their fees. Okay, the next thing you are likely to do is to save the report. For you to save the report, right click, select save, and give it a name of your choice. Here, let's just go with the owing student query report actually, which is selected by default, and click on OK. And here we have a report displaying the students that are owing the academy. All right, so I can close this. Do not forget to save the information in your database. So as we have added a new report here, still click on save for the information to be saved, okay? Let me end this tutorial by talking about copy and paste. You can copy data from a Microsoft 365 program, another Microsoft 365 program, and paste on Access. But ensure for this to work, the data type must be the same. So let me experiment this using this table. Here I will click here and select short text. I can call this first name. You can see this is text data type. So let me get to an Excel and copy the same type of data type. So I'll open my Excel here. Let's say this is the name I want to copy, Diane. So I'll click on that and use Ctrl C to copy the data. Then let me get back to Access. I've defined this. So I will use Ctrl V to paste it. I can see this has been copied from Excel and pasted inside Access. I hope you find this guide helpful. You can also watch this video on Microsoft Excel, which is part of Microsoft 365. So if you don't know how to use Excel, watch this video and learn more. If this guide helps you, please consider subscribing so that you can get notifications anytime I publish new videos on technology. Hit that like button for me and leave a comment. See you next time.